All right, so let's get started back up after that power outage. Transfer back over to Fusion. All right, so I left off, I was just finishing up this profile. And what I was doing is instead of using a fillet to round over this top, I wanted to use a circle. So I'm going to go to create circle, not just a circle. I want to use a 2-point circle. What this will allow me to do is select these two endpoints, and it'll create a circle based off of exactly that. And that's just a convenient way of making a rounded top. That's all. All right. So I can trim this out, and it'll certainly make things easier on me. So I'll go ahead and do that. But this is also one of the things you want to watch for. As I created that circle, it is not a perfect tangent. So that is one of the downsides of using this. In order to fix that, let's select here. Or rather, let me escape, use tangent. So I'll select this line. Now select the circle, snaps the circle over in place. Great. Do the same. This line, circle. Now it's going to do some weird stuff. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Ooh, well, it's technically a tangent now. All right, so can't use that one. That's okay. So instead, what I'll do, because I just wanted to create a rounded top, what I'll do is I'll trim some stuff out. Use trim. Obviously, I want to trim out this internal piece. But for here, I can either trim this excess or the internal. I'm going to trim the excess and hit escape. And what I'm trying to do is use a fillet to smooth these two over. So let's try that. Fillet there to there. And now I can just move the radius of this fillet and definitely getting some weird stuff there too, because this is all you created using an offset. A little curvature is not the worst thing in the world. So we're going to live with that for now. Okay. So let's zoom back out, or just hit F6 and it'll zoom back out to the whole project. All right. This is the basic element of what I need. Is it complete? No. Because if this is a circular thing, it's going to tip over. But we'll get to the weeble wobble thing in a minute. So let's save. Base profile. Or profile. Oh, file. There you go, speak and spell. All right. And hit finish sketch. All right. Now remember, I'm still working on, or I didn't reactivate just the base sketch. That's okay. So or the vessel. So I want to make sure that I'm working on the vessel here. Because if I left the whole project open, my next step would end up putting the Revolve into the whole project rather than within this component, and it just gets real confusing real fast. So make sure that your vessel component is selected, or the appropriate component is selected. So instead of extrude, we're going to use the Revolve tool up here at the top, Revolve, and as you mouse over, it gives you a much clearer idea. It takes a profile and rotates it around a center axis or center point. So select there, and I'm just going to go up to my view cube and hit the home button so you get an instantly clearer view. All right. Select profile. Well, that's the profile I just made. Axis, I'm going to select the Z axis. What's going on? All right. Profile crosses the revolve axis. Okay. That's all right. The error I just got, it says the profile goes over the axis that I selected. So let me go back to front and let's look. It's very slim, but what happened is that offset took it just a tiny bit over. So, all right, we'll cancel out of that. Let's go back to the project, edit sketch. And what I need to do is just edit this out. Now, it shouldn't be an issue, but apparently it is. So what we're going to do, not sure where that ended up. And this is one of those things where it's so tiny, I can see it now. Keep zooming in. This is the problem. See how this line goes just a tiny bit past that center dotted line? That's the problem. So if you run into errors, sometimes it's something screwy happening. Sometimes it's a teeny tiny little thing that shouldn't be a problem, but it is. So let's trim. Oops. What just happened? I don't want section analysis. Whoa. All kinds of stuff just happened. What happened? You press the wrong buttons here. All right. So let's trim this, that line. And now what I'm going to have to do is zoom way the heck in. I don't even know if it'll let me. There we go. As I get really, really close, now you can see that tiny bit is just past there. All right. Fine. So let's ensure that this fix is a fix. So I'm going to create a line starting at the center point. And when I go up, I'm going to go ahead and go past that line. I'm going to go past that point. That's fine. Main thing, or if I want to really make sure that that line is straight up and down, hit tab and go over to where you can select by degree. Leave it at 90 degrees. Hit OK. Again, that line is black because it is locked in place. All right, now I can hit trim. Let's trim that excess. But I also want to zoom way in and trim off that teeny little nub. All right. Constraint warning because I just changed some stuff. All right, let's zoom back out. F6, finish sketch. All right. Often enough, something tiny like that. Try it again. Go to Revolve. Select my profile, that axis, Z-axis. Instant object. So what this is doing, and I can select by also this cursor over here. I can drag that, and I don't have to make this an entire round. In this project you do, but this shows you what's happening. Create a cross section by selecting 180 degrees, and all I'm doing is creating a single profile that gets rotated around. It's a really cool tool for creating any round object of whatever random profile you want. This doesn't have to be smooth. This doesn't have to be a functional thing. This can be a wobbly Pee-wee's Playhouse, jagged, all kinds of crazy thing stuff. Let's keep with the obviously current references with Pee-wee's Playhouse. Thanks, brain. Yeah, why not? All right, one quick thing though. If I zoom in, it's a flat top because I didn't select that upper profile because there was still a line crossing that line, or another line crossing my profile. So go back up to profile, select. I don't know why it won't let me just select one. So you got to zero out of that, select both of those, or just the top, and now I just have a half ring. Oh, come on. I hate when it does that. Sometimes it won't let you select two things after you've already selected the second option piece. Go back, select there. There we go. All right. And I still had it set at 180 degrees. You have your types here too, by angle to an object or just full. So we're going to leave it at full or 360 degrees. All right. So good, we got it. Now this needs a foot, stuff like that. Select OK though. There we are. So second part of this is, yeah, this needs a bottom, something like that, so we can adjust that profile. So let's do that real quick. Let me go back to edit sketch, that first one. Excuse me. Now this is a part where you can either just add like a foot, a flat section, whatever. But ideally, let's make this, if you were to actually print this, it doesn't have to be technically functional, but I want these projects to be printable. So let's add a foot to it. What does that mean? Well, I can either add, say like just a straight line. Let's just start at that point. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to add a little fancy foot, draw it outward. And I could either, where are you? Go, where's my cursor? What's going on here? Sometimes I've had that happen a couple times tonight where my cursor just completely disappears. So I can add a feature here, which is just going straight up. An easy thing to work is if I want this to be a tangent, I can add my point selected somewhere or snapped somewhere along this profile, select there, hit OK. But if I want this to be a tangent, select the constraint, select that line. I guess it only works with a circle. That's unfortunate. I thought it would have snapped over. It usually does. Well, I can drag this point up and down if I want to make this a little bit fancier. There we are. Or you can use the offset tool, do the same kind of thing. If you want this completely flat, you can also just draw a straight line out to there. And now I have these crossed off sections. You can cut sections apart if you're not really sure what you really want to do yet. No saying you have to have it locked in place. You can always go back and fix stuff later, change stuff later. Edit or finish sketch. Now, I do need to have my sketches visible again to finish this out. So expand the sketches profile or the sketches section, make sure sketches are visible again, go back to my Revolve, edit feature, profile. Yeah, let's add a profile there. Now it's got a hollow bottom. You could also select that additional feature if you want to have it a solid bottom. I'm going to leave it as a hollow. Okay, it's joined. It's all one piece. Great. Now I can print this and it'll actually be flat and like sit there. You can also trim up that sketch, make it flat underneath. I'm going to leave that where it is for right now just to move on. All right, so let's save there. Vessel made. Now, done the same thing. Let's do the same for the bottom. I want to create a tray. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to collapse all of these just to get it out of the way. I'm going to change activation to the tray component. Now you see when I selected that, my vessel is still visible, but it's ghosted out. That's just so that way you can still reference it, but it's not going to obscure your view. Problem is you can still select stuff, and that kind of sometimes gets awkward. If you're trying to work and your original object keeps getting in the way, you can just hide it entirely, and now it's gone. I'm going to leave it there for now, though. Let's go to front. I'm going to do the same thing to make the tray. Create sketch, XZ plane, and let's see here. Let's start with something more of like a tray, flat on the bottom, go straight out. Why is it stopping? What's going on here? That's very strange. It keeps stopping. There we go. I don't know. Let's make that 45 millimeters out. Now I can switch over to a fit point spline. And let's just curve upwards. We'll make this a fancy little tray. Go to there. Sure. Let me go over here and adjust this a little bit so I have a better transition. All right. That'll work. Hit enter. Do the same. Use an offset feature. Now I want to go to the negative, so it goes downward. So we'll say -3. That works. Cool. If this is not a flat bottom for you, you could do the same thing, create a foot, or you could even add a foot anyway. Let's say do a similar feature. Start somewhere here-ish, work downward, flat again, somewhere up there-ish. Works for me. Don't forget to close this profile. So start at the bottom, go straight up. Now note, this is a problem here. It's wanting to, something happened here where it was, I think it's going to try to I'm going to have the same issue again. So it's snapping to not perfectly 90 degrees. So let's tab over, hit 90 and go straight up. I don't know what's happening there. What might be the case is this point started somewhere else. So let's just move upward and see if it creates a problem later. All right. Yeah, look where it's snapped to not in the center. That's very strange. So you know what? I'm going to catch that now. Let's delete the original line, and instead of going from the bottom up, let's go from the top down. Create a line right in the center. Tab over, make sure that's 90 degrees. And I'll just go past my line. There you go. That should work, but let's close up the other end of the profile to make sure. I'm going to do the same again with a 2-point circle. So go to create, circle, 2-point. Drag the 2 points to between that circle. There we go. All right. Trim out half of that. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Well, it is a closed feature, so we're good there. Problem is, that is not. I don't know why. For whatever reason, it snapped below. Okay. Go to modify, extend, select that line, snaps the rest of the way. Okay. Went light blue. Now I know it's a closed feature. Great. Let's save. Create sketch. And I'm also just saving these as points so for you to reference back to later. Finish sketch. Same thing. I want to use the Revolve tool. Select these two profiles. Axis, again, Z axis. I've made a tray. Hooray. All right. Now, to activate both or the whole project, go all the way up the hierarchy tree. Select there. Now both of them come up. All right. So last thing for tonight is I want to show you, we'll go over the cutting holes and such in the bottom and fine tuning next class. But for now, I want to show you the appearance tool. Now, two options here. Right now, this is currently in appearance mode. You can toggle this to automatically assign colors once you have, or if you have more than two, or more than one rather, component. You can toggle by pressing Shift in, Shift November. Now, these colors do not reference anything that is actually subject to your project. This is merely automatically assigned colors to help you differentiate different components. So as we make more complex projects this semester, using the automatic color mode will allow you to just see your projects more clearly. However, this is not the appearance I'm talking about. I'm talking about the default appearances to actually apply material appearances. So I'm going to go back over, Shift in again, toggle over, and I'm going to just press the A button, Apple. Or Alpha overstate with that. There you go. All right, so new toolbox appears, and the default one is this steel satin. Now look down, scroll down, you will have a whole freaking bunch of materials and appearances you can put on here. You can make this liquid, you can make it leather, wood, stone, whatever you please. This is irrelevant in so much as this part is not a requirement, but if you want to play around with this, it's fun. So for this, we'll go with paint. All right, let's say, metallic, because why not? Why not? We'll go with something sweet like green. Drag and drop that over to the object, to the body. Now this paint swatch appears in your project, and this little reflective looking thing that kind of looks like a smile, that is merely a implied reflection for the surrounding area of where the material select, or the material photos were originally taken. So I guess it was originally taken like in a hallway or something. There you go. That's all that means. Got a whole bunch of stuff you can play around with. Let's say, let's make the bottom one. Yeah, let's go with gold, because why not? Why not? Polished gold. Heck yeah. Sweet. There you go. So the tray is gold and the pot is metallic flake. Awesome. Close or press A again, and you'll get out of that. All right. So appearance tool added. There you go. All right. Well, I guess there is a little bit more time. So let's go ahead and show you the other feature of this project. Now we're going to fine tune this plenty, specifically for printing availability. But last thing is, I guess since we have time, last thing is I want to cut drainage holes into this. All right. Now I'm not going to need drainage holes into the tray because that kind of defeats the purpose of a catch tray. So for now, let's just hide the tray. I want to activate just the vessel because I'm going to be working on this vessel. If this appearance is getting bothersome to you, you can switch back over to auto assign color mode, Shift in, and there you go. So I'm just going to expand this again, expand the tree again to help me see what I'm doing. Don't really need bodies, but I'll also rename that one while we're here. Okay. So what I want to do is I need to cut some holes in the bottom of this. So the easiest way to do that is I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to extrude that sketch down, and I have a couple of options. I can either use the pattern tool to make multiple sketches and extrude all of those, or extrude one hole, use the pattern tool to duplicate in that same pattern the already finished feature. Two different workflow options. Neither are necessarily correct. They are simply options at this point. So to do that, create a new sketch. And in this case, I'm going to work on the XY plane, the plane we were using previously, your tabletop plane. Select there. All right. And I'm just going to create a round hole, like it's drilled out, no problem. But I do want to make sure that it's going through the bottom here. Go to bottom. And not through like the foot or anything. So easiest way to do that, I am currently working on that plane, so it shouldn't be an issue. Select bottom, circle, and I'm just going to go somewhere off of the X axis here, just because it helps to work off of a direct axis. Works for me there. All right, select outward. I don't know. 10 millimeters seems like a good size. Big enough for water to get through, but not so much that dirt falls through. Okay. Now, I can either go to create, circle pattern, select that object, run my center point. Now it creates evenly spaced holes. They don't have to be even, but in this case it is. You have your toolbox pop up, circle pattern. Distribution is full. You can go to the partial. The sliders allow you to add and subtract. The arrow slider allows you to still evenly space, but around a predetermined or numerically added degrees, amount of degrees. Or we'll just go with full for now. That works. 3, no, but because reasons, I feel like keeping it odd numbers because it just feels right. There we go. 5 evenly spaced holes. Okay. Now I have those holes. Now, let's finish the sketch. Let's hide that first sketch because that's just getting in my way and a little confusing. Use extrude, and I can select all of these sketches. All right. Now I can use a slider and just go straight up. And as I move it upward, it assumes, since it's passing this extrude through another body, it assumes and changes the operation to cut. That works fine. Now, I just did that with a slider, or you could do it with, inputting numerically. However, what happens if I go back and change, maybe I make this pot a different shape, make it thicker, thinner, something like that. Thinner won't really be a problem. What if I make it thicker, completely different profile, something like that? Well, one of the things you can do is, instead of adding stuff in numerically, because what if something changes, you can use the automatic controls within Fusion that will allow it to change with the parameters you set. This is, again, called parametric modeling. So what that means in this case is, let's go down the list of my toolbox here. Start at the profile plane. Yep, that's fine. We don't need to change that right now. Direction, one-sided. Yep, that's fine. Distance. Right now, the extent type is to distance. Open the drop down up, and you have the same, or you have options again. All means it's just going to go straight all the way through anything that it sees. Now, in this case, not a problem. However, to object is a really handy way of working. It will always extrude to that object. So in this case, I'm going to select just the inside face of that bowl. And now the extrusion happens just to that bowl. So if I were to thicken this, go back to my sketch and change the distance of that offset, anything like that, it will always stop at that. That's handy if I were to add something else inside of here. It wouldn't continue up through that. Just a convenient way of working. So select there. All right, now I got drain holes. Cool. Now, what I could have done alternatively, and let me move my toolbox out of the way here. Let's suppress this extrusion, just because I'm going to make some changes. So go back to that. Let's instead extrude, unhide that sketch, and instead what I could do is select one of those, do the same, extent type, to object, select inside, just the one hole, cut, okay. Now the convenient thing about this is now I can make my alterations just to this and then duplicate this. So what I mean by alterations is, let's add some fillets. I'm going to zoom in, select the inside circle, and I don't know, let's say 1 millimeter. That might be huge. That's pretty good. Select OK, and just rounded it over. Now I can go to do the same pattern, circular pattern, and instead of it being a sketch feature, go to, or instead of it being a sketch element, let's go to drop down, faces, features. Features means it's the whole of whatever you've done to something. So in this case, I'm going to select those features. So all of that, we're good. Axis, Z-axis. And let's just change it so you can see it more clearly for 3 of them, 3 holes. Select OK. What happened? It didn't compute. Might not have selected all the things. Come on. Great. Now it's going to make a chump out of me. Why is it not? It's getting, I don't know why the appearance mode keeps trying to pop up. That's very strange. All right. Fine. Let's go to faces then. No. Inside. There we go. I don't know what was going on with the features thing. Something was getting confused in here. Basically, the faces work the same. You just have to select the individual faces of a feature. Axis. My origin disappeared. Z-axis. There we are. So I'm going to leave it at 3 so it shows up more easily. Finish. Now it duplicated the entirety of what I've already done to one hole and multiplied that. So that's the difference. Are either of them correct? Or sorry, are either of them wrong, rather? No, both are an option. It just depends on the multiple, the amount of work you're doing. And if you just want to work a little more smoothly. I didn't add the fillets to the other one yet. That's all. I didn't really make any changes otherwise. All right. So there we go. One last thing about this I do want to add in here is, well, if water comes in here, it kind of gets trapped in here. I'm going to make another feature here. So I'm going to create another sketch on the YZ plane. And I'm going to create a center circle right there in the middle. And let's make that, I don't know, 10 millimeters. Sure. Finish sketch. Now, in this case, again, I have 2 different options. All right, 10 millimeters might be way too big. Let's go back and make that a little bit smaller. Sketch, double click on that. Let's say 5, make it smaller. There we go. And extrude, sketch, distant to object, outside. It chops through. Cannot complete extrusion. Why? Maybe it's because the distance thing. So let's just try direct extrude, chops through. There you go. All right. Now, the only problem with doing this right here, I probably should have made the sketch a little bit lower because now it chopped into the bottom there. So maybe not. Now, if that's a problem, I can redo that. Or let me open that extrude back up, edit feature. And remember how we had some options for the start? Well, I can do the same. Offset here. Instead of starting at the original hole or at the original sketch point, I can do an offset. Let's move that over 10 millimeters. What's that do? That starts the sketch 10 millimeters farther away from it. Looks like let's make that a little bit further. So let's say 15. There you go. It kind of shows up right in the middle of that hole. Neat. Okay. From there, I can do the same. Create pattern, circle pattern, features. I don't know why it's doing that this time. Let's see if it works correctly this time. Features on that object, axis. Yeah, something's going on. Something's going on here. I wonder if the program got kind of a little scrambly. So let's go to faces instead. Just there. Yeah, it's still on that object. That's weird. That's doing that. Come on, let me select the axis. If you can't quite get to something, what is that? Something's going real screwy here. There we go. Don't know what was happening there. Just hide and unhide the bodies. There we go. All right. Now it's, what is going on with this thing? I think the power outage did some screwy stuff here. There we go. So now it's made that same feature with faces 3 times around. Clicked OK. There you go. So now it has some little vent ports. So just a couple of different ways you can use the circle pattern tool to multiply the tools you've already done. If I wanted to round out the bottom here, easy thing, select fillet. Depending on what you select, it'll do it either just to the edge. So I could select to the edge here, one, or instead, I could select all the bottom faces and it'll put a, let's say 2 millimeter. Now it does the fillet to all adjoining edges of this entire face. Again, different ways you can make different selections and it'll do different things. All right. So that's pretty well good. It has holes in the bottom, a multitude of them, however many and of shape, that's up to you. Unhide the tray. There's a tray to it. Let me reactivate the entire project. Go to the top of the hierarchy tree, select the selection box there. And there we are. So it's got a tray. Nothing to drip down through. If I press Shift in, it goes back over to the colors I've selected, the appearances. Again, appearances are an option. You do not have to do that, but it's a neat option. There you go. Click save. Done. Done. I'm going to show you a few other options next week. But largely, we're going to go over this and we're going to discuss printability for these sort of objects, because the first project is largely just a flat thing that can print flat on a bed. This has recesses, curves, three-dimensional potential hurdles to address. So granted, there's ways to just directly print it, doesn't really matter. And there's ways to adjust your project for better printing. But we'll address that next week. That's pretty much the project. It's got some holes cut in it, and it's two separate components. That's one of the main issues with this. So that's what we're going for. So good luck with it. All right.